From the City of Angels, you are listening to the James Salazar Media Podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about headlines from the world of futurism. So let me strike the music, and I'll meet you on the other side.
Engage.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Say hello to my little friend.
No, I am your father.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
And welcome to the James Salazar Media Podcast, where you get your weekly dose of pop culture, politics, and futurism. I am the formerly mentioned James Salazar, a.k.a. The Media. Headlines from the world of futurism. This is what we're going to do today, but before you get hot and bothered over headlines from the world of futurism, I got some things I have to say concerning politics. And I've been known from time to time to give my opinion on politics. So let's get into some intellectual anarchy. And I have three things I want to talk about. First, let's talk about Gina Carano. Gina. Now, for sure, free speech is being attacked by the media and by the Democratic Party and people who are part of the Democratic Party. They want to paint with a broad brush all Trump voters, Republicans, with the brush they paint with the Capitol rioters, and saying, because you believe that or you caused that, you should shut up. And no one should fall for that, and no one should give in to that, because most conservatives and most Republicans were against that. There was a far right few who condoned that or were a part of that. Just like it was it was very little far left, all the riots that happened this summer or last summer. And we should acknowledge that and try not to paint the broad brush over liberals based upon the actions of a few. But what needs to happen, and what always must happen, you must condemn the violence, or you are complicit into it. We assume you think it's right. And still, okay, I'm going on a tangent. Let me bring it back to what I want to talk about, because I've said this a lot of times. Everybody should condemn violence, regardless, left, right, in the middle, whatever. But right now, definitely the Democrats, liberals are trying to paint every conservative with a broad brush of Capitol rioters and all that stuff. Gina Carano comes in and says that conservatives and Republicans are being treated like Jews in World War II. Now, this is a very stupid statement. And I don't know who was around her or what her publicist is doing, but this is clearly a bad analogy. And simply because there were 6 million Jews who were murdered by Hitler and the Nazis, and not one Republican has died based upon what Democrats are doing to Republicans and conservatives. Nobody's died. So the analogy is super bad and super insensitive to people who lost their families, people who actually experienced the Holocaust. And we must always defend free speech. Gina Carano had every right to say something stupid. But we shouldn't defend contents of speech. If people are going to say something and put a noose around their neck, then that problem was caused by themselves. And I get it. What good is free speech if the people don't defend it? And I totally forgive Gina Carano, me personally, as a fan of MMA and a fan of Star Wars, that she made a misstep. She made a stupid statement, an inaccurate historical comparison. I forgive her from that. But in this world of the politics of unforgiveness, and that's what it is, unforgiveness. We were saying we're not going to forgive you for this. And we're using it as a political tool to destroy people's lives. So if you're going to be in the limelight, you can't make one mistake, because there's a group of people who don't believe in forgiveness, who don't believe in mistakes, or will only allow mistakes for their side, but not the other, who are going to try to shut you down. I have no problem letting her back in, letting her continue, and having her apologize. But if her apology didn't end up making the mob more crazy, I would say you're sorry. But when you give in to the mob and you make them the authority over free speech, then it's better just to keep quiet and not say anything. Because if you're not going to get your job back, because everybody knows she made a mistake. She probably knows she made a mistake. But are we in a political environment where you can say, I'm sorry, and go back to your job? No, we're not. We're not in that society today. Not even close. So it's sad she made a mistake and it costed her job. Now there's a backlash going on, and I do hope that stupid statements don't destroy your careers. Because everybody says something stupid now and then, and it shouldn't be the end of your livelihood. It shouldn't be the end of your career. And whoever has the loudest voice. Now Disney is in a precarious position because not everybody's happy with their decision. They think it's knee-jerking. And I saw it coming. Do I think it's a knee-jerk reaction anymore in this cancel culture? I mean, part of me says she was stupid for doing it. Anybody with a half a brain would have known not to make that comparison. So here do I say her stupidity did her in? But do I want to live in a society that puts their heel on your head every time you do something stupid? And the most freest nation on earth? Not completely free. We're trying. And this is not going towards a way of freedom. It's going in the way of totalitarianism, where people have to watch what they think and watch what they say. They can't speak their mind, no matter how stupid and misguided it is. I would like to live in a world where only the extreme, and let me just say what I think extreme is. If you hate somebody for their color, you hate somebody for their gender, you hate somebody for their religion, and also if you hate somebody for their politics, those are unforgivable, and we should not accept those people in the limelight of entertainment, at the very least, and in politics and in sports. And it is a prerogative of every corporation and business to have a choice whether they want such a person to be working for them. But her subject is speaking on hate, political hate. Just the analogy was bad and insensitive. But if she said, I hate black people, there's no room there. There's no wiggle room. She says, I hate transgendered people. I wish they would die. There is no wiggle room there. That person needs to be gone. If someone said, and this is often said on both sides, that a Democrat or a Republican needs to die, and I hate them, there might not be, there's more wiggle room there in our society right now than ever before. And maybe that might be the problem. But let's be real, we live in a world where people are ultra sensitive. You know, they call Donald Trump Hitler. It's almost the same. It is the exact same thing. When you say Donald Trump was a Hitler and Donald Trump didn't kill 6 million Jews, then you just did the same thing Gina Carano did. But most people have tolerance for it because the other side said it. And now that Gina Carano is being triggered by how conservatives are being painted, there's little patience for it, right? And there's also a problem with the consistency of the Disney Corporation laying an equal hand over, or heavy hand over, people who have made mistakes and said things that are not very wise or good, and them doing nothing about it. So we're seeing this unequal standard going on. So there's a little pushback, and it is a sticky situation. It is hard as I'm talking about it. It's not. I wish it never happened, but everybody's might be holding their ground right now because of the political environment that we live in. There is no forgiveness, and if those people who don't like what she said hold their ground and try to put Disney's feet to the fire, who knows what the outcome's going to be. But at the end of the day, and this is a prediction, in the next 4 years, corporations are gonna find out that when you give in to the mob, it doesn't mean more money for you. It's gonna mean less money for you. And corporations are always the corporations care about woke culture because they think financially it's going to be a benefit for them. And they're not quite sure if that's right or wrong. I'm making the prediction that they're going to lose more money because of it. And once they lose more money because they kowtow to woke culture, once they find out there's no money in that, they'll switch because they're a corporation and their job is to make a profit. We see this happening in the Star Wars. They pretty much kicked out 2 very woke directors, Kathleen Kennedy and somebody else, and they were going to do a whole woke culture Star Wars storyline with Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, where she's supposed to be the super badass messiah character that kicks everybody's ass and just beats up on men, basically. And but they made the last 3 films, and those films are critics hate them, fans hate them. No one really loves those movies. They think they were very done wrong, and I can go into the reasons why they were so bad, but basically that Rey, she was just some badass without no learning curve. And in the Star Wars universe and in our universe, there's a learning curve before you're good at something. And we didn't see that. So we never could relate to the character of Rey. And a whole host of other problems. But it was very woke, and fans and critics complained. And now they're looking to redo or totally toss out the last 3 movies. The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. They're looking just to get rid of those, act like they never happened. Maybe George Lucas will wake up from a dream and say, oh, that was a bad idea, that was a terrible dream or something. but they ain't going to tolerate it no more. Okay, enough about Gina Carano. Number 2, there's an impeachment. And this is what I really wanted to talk about. Look, this impeachment trial is a show, and let me tell you why. Number 1, Democrats could write a law that says that Donald Trump cannot run for office a second time, put whatever reason you want, and it would pass the House because they control the House. It would pass the Senate because they control the Senate, and the president will sign it because they control the presidency. Okay? They could just write a law. But yet they're going down an avenue that most likely will not give them the results that they want. They're trying to impeach a president that's out of office already. Basically, they're trying to evict a tenant that's already left. And it's not going to pass the constitutional muster. It's going to go to the Supreme Court, if that. And there's no way it's going to pass, especially in the configuration of the Supreme Court the way it is now. There's no way it's going to happen. So why do you think they're choosing the harder and least likely to win path to have Donald Trump not run for the presidency a second time? I'll tell you why. Because they do not want to impeach the president in that manner, and nor do they want to make a law. Number 1, if they thought that they could impeach a president that's already gone, they would never do it. Want to know why? Because that would leave people like Barack Obama and Bill Clinton open to prosecution and impeachment for things like, for Obama, like Fast and Furious and Benghazi. They can just do a show trial on them. And the Republicans could do that. But the Democrats know they're not going to win. So it will set a precedent that, no, you can't impeach a president after he's left office. If they're smart enough, they won't have it go to the Supreme Court. They'll just drop it. And look, and I'll explain it like this. The Republicans will only pick it up if the Democrats win. Because Democrats are for democracy, basically mob rule, and Republicans are for republic, nation of laws. So if it's not in the law, they don't think you should do it. Democrats believe that if you can get enough people to believe in it, you should do it. And why do you think they don't create a law? Because it hasn't been done before. And once it's done, it can happen again. And that's a sword that cuts both ways. If they can make a law that says Donald Trump can't run for the presidency the second time, Republicans can probably make a law that says that Barack Obama can't be admitted or given the position for the Supreme Court or whatever. It just opens too many doors that could come back and bite you in the ass. So it's just a show trial. They do not want the president to be impeached because immediately the Republicans will impeach Barack Obama just to do it. Just to do it. You did it to our guy, we're going to do it to your guy. And just embarrass a former president. It's not going to happen. Or they would just create a law that says it, and they're not going to do that. So don't be fooled by the outcome. This is just for their base. And last but not least, people have a fundamental misunderstanding about private property. And people who keep on going into supermarkets and restaurants and say they have a right not to wear a mask. They do, but their rights end at the door of the supermarket because that's private property. And they have a right to deny service to anybody as they choose or see fit. So right before you walk into a supermarket or restaurant, if they say for you to come in, you have to wear a mask, it's not about your rights. It's about their private property. And it's just like if someone came into your house and you did not want them to wear a mask, or they have to put in the mask, they have to comply if they want to come to your house. If they don't want to comply, they can stay out of your house. It's called private property. For some reason, people don't understand that. They keep on saying, my rights, while they're walking into a private company. Your rights. When you're walking into someone's house, you don't have freedom of speech. You don't have a right to bear arms in someone else's house. They grant you that right because hopefully you're a friend, and companies tolerate it because they hope you're a good customer. But when you walk around saying, this is my right, I can do what I want, I don't have to wear a mask, and they telling you do, your rights end at the door. You don't have a right to walk in and disobey. Your constitutional rights are left at the door, my friend. Now, there's other laws that supersede whether someone kills you by accident or if they shoot you. But normally, if you go into someone's property and they tell you to leave and you don't leave, if you get shot, in some states, they can do that. So what I'm saying to you is, be educated about your rights and where they start and when they end. They end at private property. In America, we believe in private property, that you can build a wealth for yourself, and you can build intellectual property and personal property with your hard work and ingenuity. And it's yours, and no one can seize it. No one can control it. And it's yours, and no one can violate it. This is what we believe in this country. So as long as your rights don't violate someone else's private property, then you're all good. And if they have a certain rules that you don't like, you have every right to go somewhere else that accept the way you come into that place. And if they don't, you're the one that has to shift in the change, or create your own market, create your own restaurant, and not wear a mask in it. So I tell you, please, 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 be educated about your rights and where they end. They end at personal property. Okay? You go into any place, you need to know this. And you just look stupid. When you walk in, they tell you you need to wear a mask before you come in, and you start talking about your rights. It just shows you have a fundamental misunderstanding of the Constitution and your own rights and how they compare to other people's rights and how to keep from violating other people's rights. Your rights do not trample or trump other people's rights. That's simple. Okay, I think I said everything I want to say about politics. Man, I almost talked a half hour about that. So sorry. So sorry. But let's get into some headlines from the world of futurism. Oh, shit. All right. Astrophysicist says it's likely we can travel through wormholes. Interesting. Wormholes are a theoretical bridge connecting distant points in space-time, are quickly being plucked from the realm of science fiction and brought into the scientific reality. In recent years, scientists have made significant progress towards making sense of these hypothetical warp tunnels, pointing to all the research. It seems increasingly likely that real people might one day travel through them. Andrea Font, if she's right, that might means someday being able to travel faster than light, like the Starship Enterprise. Basically, wormholes. It's connecting 2 points in space time. Let's say Proxima Centauri. It's about 45. I don't know how many light years. A lot. And you go through this wormhole, this hole created by probably dark matter, if we read on, and it connects to another point. And in science fiction, sometimes it's instantly, like the Stargate, or like in Deep Space Nine, it takes about a couple hours or a couple minutes to get through the wormhole between the Alpha Quadrant and the Gamma Quadrant. But it connects 2 points in time and then folds back to an even plane time. And it's craziness once you think about it. But let's keep on reading. Of course, there's a lot of caveats here, especially since existing research on wormholes is, of course, far more theoretical than practical. For instance, Font points out that it would take something called negative energy in order to stretch wormholes open wide enough for a starship to travel through it. But that's only a minuscule amount of negative energy has been generated in a lab. So it is theoretically possible, sure, but is it feasible with today's technology? Certainly not. And with tomorrow's tech, well, that remains to be seen. So, very interesting. It's good to know that it's theoretically possible. And it's always an issue of power and manipulating power and finding how to do that. So, that's what the Hadron Collider's for and all that stuff. Trying to find out the mysteries of the universe by smashing atoms and see if we can create stuff that only God can create. Saudi Arabia is building a zero-carbon city in a 100-mile straight line. You see a picture of it right here. This looks like it looks like a straight line, a city. Let's read about this. Saudi Arabia has unveiled their newest zero-carbon city project called The Line. As eyebrows raised name suggests, the unusual metropolis will be built in a straight line more than 100 miles in length. Unconventional cities will feature zero cars and zero streets and zero carbon emissions, according to the statement by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and will be able to house 1 million inhabitants from around the world. The proposed city will be the first development at Neom, a $500 billion green energy business zone in northwestern Saudi Arabia that was created with the aim to end Saudi Arabian economics reliance on oil exports. Everything in the line will be 5-minute walk of home. Within a 5-minute walk of home. Still unclear how an option in a 100-mile long city, but bin Salman did note that getting from one end to another would take just 20 minutes. Thanks to the spine and high-tech mode of transportation that connects individual city modules, this subsurface spine layer takes care of the ultra-high-speed transit and AI-enabled transport according to official documents. So, basically, it's going to be a 100-mile long city, and there will be a transport that wherever you are in that 100-mile city, say one end to the other, if you live at one end of it, it should take you 20 minutes to get to the other end. within 100 miles. So what is that? It's 100 miles in 20 minutes. That's how fast it goes. Well, let's see if that happens. If it works, that's a brilliant idea. I mean, that's one way to get rid of cars and streets. If you can just walk out of your door and there's a transit right there, it doesn't say how wide it is. It's 100 miles long, but it doesn't tell you in a straight line, but it doesn't how wide it is. And hopefully it's wide enough to have like parks and supermarkets. And I don't know, maybe a half mile in width, maybe a quarter mile in width. I don't know. Let's see what happens with this. NASA suggests sending Boston Dynamic robo-dogs to Mars. And NASA scientists have unusual ideas for exploring the surface of Mars, sending four-legged robo-dogs. Especially research suggests that a modified version of the Boston Dynamic dog-like Spot robot would make for a great alternative to a classic Mars rover. The idea is that they are better suited to cover long distances in rough terrain and could even help map out possible locations for the type of human outpost NASA hopes to eventually establish on the red planet. Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Even with the astronauts there, they can only aid. If they need to go down a cavern and see if there's any minerals or water, that Boston Dynamic dog can go down there with no risk to the astronaut or whatever. And they can go down holes and go down cliffs. And probably other types of robots will be made just to keep the people made with flesh and blood safe. This seems like a great idea. Man faced 10-year sentence for wielding Elon Musk flamethrower. Poor dude. It's likely wasn't the intention of Boring Company CEO Elon Musk to get anyone thrown into jail. Yet in January 2018, Musk chose to sell 20,000 flamethrowers with the tongue-in-cheek name "Not a Flamethrower" under the tunnel digging brand. The Not Flamethrower were huge success, selling almost out immediately. But some chose to take their new glorified propane burner barbecue starter on a holiday outside the U.S., and that's where things started to get messy quickly. For instance, there was a U.S. citizen, Max Craddock, who took his Boring Company flamethrower on a private party bus in the Sudan port city of Obion, in the Sardinian port city of Obion in Italy. Italian law enforcement was not impressed and promptly arrested. Craddock spent almost a week in jail. He reconnected to TechCrunch, where he faced up to 10 years in prison, since the possession of the flamethrower is illegal in Italy. It's not a weapon of war, Craddock's lawyer told investigators. As quoted by TechCrunch, it's a toy they sell to children. He didn't say that. It's a toy that they sell to children. Luckily, Craddock got away with it. After a week in jail, he took the first plane home. My lawyer asked the judge, "Do you really want to be the guy on international news keeping an American in jail over this toy?" I think it was the key to getting him out. Very interesting. Don't be bringing your flamethrowers to other nations. obviously the lesson to learn from this. Yeah. I'm afraid where that's going to go. Too loud. U.S. Army is testing an auto-aiming part of an Iron Man suit. Really? The U.S. Army is developing a gun barrel stabilizer for its next-generation rifle that could greatly level out unintended movements. The piece of tech is a leftover part of the military next-generation squad weapon NGSW effort, which was originally part of the U.S. Special Operations Command SOCOM Iron Man suit project. Powered suit was abandoned in early 2019, but the impressive looking stabilizer shows a portion of the tech that can still end up on the battlefield. So basically, Jarvis for Tony Stark's Iron Man suit, how his computer automatically aims, while Iron Man is blasting people with his hand raised, and his targeting acquisition software is sending out missiles, killing people while he's concentrating on his hand raise. Well, basically, same thing for the soldier. They'll have something that will start shooting shit that will be more correct, better aimer than the soldier, I guess. Brave New World, people are gonna die. The Navy reportedly experimented with space-time modification weapon. What? According to the documents obtained by the War Zone, the U.S. Naval performed experiments on far-fetched technology, including space-time modification weapon, which researchers claim internally could revolutionize power and propulsion system. The mysterious technology were meant to take advantage of the phase effect, patented by American aerospace engineer Salvatore Cesar Paris, and which could end up pushing the boundaries of conventional science, if, that is, they are ever proven to actually work. Paris says the tech could enable propulsion systems that defy gravity, as well as even more eccentric claims. Paris even laid out plans for a hybrid aerospace underwater craft that he claimed would be able to engineer the fabric of our reality at the most fundamental level. Nevertheless, to say the dubious theoretical device has yet to be demonstrated in any meaningful way. But at the same time, the fact that the U.S. military is funding their development does lend more to their credibility. So yeah, it could be anything. Defying gravity is pretty hard. I don't know if that means hover technology but, engineer the fabric of our reality at the most fundamental level. That seems very cryptic language. Sounds like a hack. But like they said, the War Department is giving them money. But I mean, there's been silly shit done by the government and by the War Department to try to get an upper edge on our enemies. So take it with a grain of salt. The White House says Space Force has its full support. New boss. The incoming Biden administration may have gotten off on the wrong foot with the United States military youngest service branch. During a press conference on Tuesday, the White House press Secretary Jen Psaki appealed appeared to make a divisive comment about Space Force when asked about the new military branch. Wow, Space Force. It's the plan of today. A likely reference to weeks earlier question about the color schemes of Air Force One. Kerfuffle. The House Republicans were appalled by the apparent disrespect and called for Psaki to immediately apologize for the incident. But during today's press conference, Psaki said that the Space Force, Psaki, I'm sure I'm saying that right, says that the Space Force has the full support of the Biden administration, adding the desire to focus on more on growing security challenges in space has been a bipartisan issue. Good. There was a worry that Joe Biden did not or was not going to support the Space Force and not support the space program. And on to our next one. We'll keep this in the line. It says, it's official. Biden admits full support for the Artemis moon program. Senate Democrats and the White House have altered their support for NASA Artemis program, which has a goal of returning the first human astronauts to the surface of the moon as soon as 2024. That is 3 years away. Press Secretary Jen Psaki said during the conference today that the government will work with industry leaders to send another man and a woman to the moon, which is very exciting. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Meet George Jetson, Jane, his wife, his boy, Roy, his dog Spot, some shit like that. That was an old cartoon back in the 50s, talks about a future world, but I digress. SpaceX launching NASA telescope to find inhabitable alien worlds. NASA announced on Tuesday that it has chosen SpaceX to launch an upcoming mission that will help the space agency map out the universe and even perhaps understanding how it was created. The spectral photometer for the history of the universe, epoch of resonalization, and ice explorers sphere missions involve launching a new telescope into orbit that will be able to scan hundreds of millions of stars and galaxies over the coming years, according to NASA press release. Not only is it a valuable scientific endeavor, but it also reinforces NASA's commitment to its private industry partners over the coming years and could help find inhabitable alien worlds. I will make a prediction right here. Once that thing is set up and they start looking at galaxies, they're going to find out the universe is bigger than they thought. If that's a thing. Radio telescope is so powerful it can see the surface of other worlds. Thanks to a new upgrade on the Green Bank telescope in West Virginia, the world's biggest fully steerable radio telescope, scientists are able to get unprecedented looks at the surface of near-Earth celestial objects. In a proof-of-concept test, scientists were able to use the telescope to obtain images of Apollo 15 landing sites, showing objects as small as 5 meters long. Okay. The new radio transmitter developed by the military contractor Raytheon allows a GTB to send out radio signals that were then received by the continent-wide Very Long Baseline Array VLBA, a 27 antenna system in Hawaii. Okay. Another telescope to show us the world, the universe. No, I don't like that one. Keep on doing that one. Pressing a tiny patch into your skin could replace medical blood test. Next time you need a medical test, a doctor might not draw blood. Instead, she might just press a tiny patch covered with micro needles into the surface of your skin. The team of scientists from Washington University School of Medicine had engineered a disposable dime-sized patch that can sense biomarkers and other components to search for signals of diseases or other health factors. The patch, coated in needless less than a millimeter long, press into the skin to tap into the interstitial fluids, the protein-rich liquid surrounding the skin cells. This fluid, they say, can make medical tests simpler, less invasive, more accessible, and even 800 times more sensitive than the traditional biomarker tests. That's always the good news. I won't have my daughter screaming every time she gets a shot, or me for that fact. The universe may have fifth dimensions according to a new research. Don't they know that the universe has 12 dimensions? Never mind, that's from a movie. The team of German and Spanish scientists, leave it to the Germans and Spanish to find different dimensions, say that they found a natural explanation for dark matter, the other unresolved scientific mystery. But their work depends on the existence of new theoretical subatomic particles and entire fifth dimension of universe. Okay. The new particles yet discovered type of fermion would be able to traverse this new dimension of blind dark matter to the ominous matter that makes up everything in the universe we can see or touch, in a way that doesn't contradict any other models we have on how dark matter behaves. It seems a bit far-fetched. Yeah, I was going to say that. The physicists created a new rule for a universe in order to explain their own theory. Nice. But if it pans out, big if, it could vastly improve our understanding of the cosmos. Yes, I guess. I mean, I can virtually do what they just did. I can say something like dark matter is Swiss cheese, and then I can create another law that explains why it is made of Swiss cheese. So we can just go down to infinitum all these different laws that explain the law before that they couldn't prove. Whatever. Hacker infiltrated water treatment plant attempting to poison the city. According to local law enforcement, a hacker remotely accessed a computer system at Omar, Florida water treatment plant, attempting to increase the amount of sodium hydroxide 100-fold. A chilling sign of how cybercrime can endanger lives in the real world. Sodium hydroxide is more commonly known as lye, is a corrosive compound used in small amounts to control the acidity of water. In high and undiluted concentration, it can be lethal. All right. I'm not a chemist, but I can tell you what I do know. If you put that amount of substance into drinking water, it's not a good thing. Yes, you're not a chemist. I can tell you, I'm not a chemist, but this seems like no good, no bueno. SpaceX is now taking on Starlink pre-orders. After making a beta available roughly to 10,000 customers, SpaceX is now accepting pre-orders for the Starlink broadband internet service. Depending on the region, some customers are getting a message that reads Starlink is targeting coverage in your area in the mid to late 2021. Other areas will have to wait until next year. Obviously, as they get more satellites up there. Break that monopoly, please. Unless it's like really expensive, then shit. If it's like $200, then forget it. All right, now I'm going to try to run through these because I'm coming up to the hour mark. So, Chinese birth rates dropped substantially this year. Chinese birth rate took a steep dive last year, with dramatically low numbers of babies being born in 2020 than in 2021. Okay, that's not good for them, I guess. Elon Musk says Neuralink has a monkey playing video games with his mind. During an appearance last night on the app Clubhouse, Neuralink co-founder Elon Musk said that the brain-computer interface startup has implanted a monkey with a device that allows him to play video games with his mind. We have the monkey with a wireless implant in their skull with tiny wires who can play video games with his mind, Musk said during the appearance. Watch out. Elon Musk, Peter's going to get you. Better watch your back. Because they are crazy. They're going to throw paint on you. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens with this. Next. Microsoft patented an AI to imitate your dead family. An AI chatbot described in December is capable of imitating your dead relatives. So you can have an instant messenger style conversation with them beyond the grave. That's gross, bro. But I guess, if you're hurting and you need to talk to them just to make the pain go away. I don't know. That might cause more trauma. The digital doppelganger will learn to imitate someone based on their social media posts and other publicity available online. That's creepy. Let's go on to the next thing. Congressional panel, please let us build killer robots. Tasked with deciding whether the United States military should be able to develop autonomous killer robots capable of using deadly force. The Congressional Advisory Panel decided that the government should keep their options open. Obviously, because we don't know if our enemies are not going to use that, and that's an unwinnable war when they are killing flesh and blood, and we're only killing robots. If it needs to come down to robots will fight our wars, fine. We save more lives that way, but the war will be fought quicker and with less, and we'll have to name a victor quick. So there's some problems with that. And a conventional war is how much human tragedy, whoever has the most human tragedy on their side, they tend to give up. And because humans actually die, there's ceasefires and nothing gets resolved. With a robot army, I'm pretty sure they're going to push to a victor, and then the victor has to concede, and if they don't concede, that means fighting the war among the citizens of those nations. So we'll see what happens there. But you have to keep your options open. You have to, because we don't know who the bad actors are in this world. And if they're going to use, and when I'm talking about China and Russia, if they're going to use robots, we're going to need to use robots also. That's all I'm saying. Shit. New algorithm generates synthetic human genetic code. I've seen AI algorithms create a mostly believable picture of people's headshots and working arts, news articles, and even Pokemons. But now a team of scientists has taken things to a step further with an algorithm to generate the entire genetic code of a non-existent people. Whoa. Using a type of AI called generative adversarial network, in which two algorithms rapidly generate some sort of output, checking their work against real-world examples and refining things as they go. The team has managed to replicate realistic human genome that they say are indistinguishable from the real thing, according to researchers. I have no idea what that means in being afraid. Let's read on. I kind of have to read on a little bit. Unlike other projects, like those horrifying Pokemon, I don't know what he's talking about, what are meant to be fun little AI oddities, the team of researchers from France who developed the artificial genome project says that the fake genetic sequences may have real value as tools for researching genetics. Okay, so basically, we don't have to work on the real genome by other people. We can just work on this fake one. I don't know if it's going to have the same reaction, but if it does, then why not? We can understand the genome better. Maybe some things that need to be tested might destroy the genetic genome or genetic code, but we use this fake one that looks just as real and behaves just as real to take the brunt of that type of experimentation. I don't know. Let's see what happens. NASA picks SpaceX to launch crew quarters for the Lunar Gateway Station. NASA has been chosen to launch its first part of the Lunar Gateway, a crewed outpost about the tenth of the size of the International Space Station. The plan is for it to orbit the moon, where it will be a stepping stone for future Artemis missions and the lunar surface. So I guess something. The SpaceX Falcon Heavy reusable heavy lift rocket has only launched 3 times since 2018. Excuse me, I got a burp. Sorry. Will carry NASA powered propulsion element PPE and habitation and logistic outpost HALO from the launch pad at Kennedy Space Center to Florida to no sooner than May 2020, according to the agency. It is a major coup for SpaceX, which will get paid a whopping $331 million for the project, and potentially a huge step forward for humans coming back to the moon. And last but not least, we'll end with this. Spacecraft from 3 different nations will reach Mars this month. February will be the big month for space fans and those interested in exploration of Mars. Way back in July 2020, spacecraft from 3 different nations left Earth for a 7-month journey to Mars. The spacecraft includes NASA Perseverance rover, China's Tianwen-1, and the United Arab Emirates Hope. The main goal of all missions is to learn more about Mars and hopefully find evidence of ancient life on the red planet. Only one of the trio spacecraft will land on the surface of Mars this month, is Perseverance. The other 2 spacecraft will orbit the red planet. An expected arrival date for Perseverance on the surface of the planet is February 18th. That has not yet come. Where are we at right now? We are February 12th. And NASA has a very long history of landing spacecrafts on the surface of Mars. NASA Curiosity rover has been operating on the surface of Mars for 9 years. Hope is expected to perform its Martian orbital insertion maneuver on February 9th. Where are we at? We know it did that already. That's happened. With Tiny 1 performing orbital insertion on February 10th. That also happened. I saw that on the news. Hope will stay in orbit to analyze the atmosphere of Mars. So, Perseverance is on its way, and to the surface. It should land on the surface on February 18th. So far, all the tests and all the space flights are coming up all aces, and that is good news for the space industry. That's good for news for the space race, and we are on track for Mars in 2026. Everything's going as planned, and if we stay on target, stay successful, especially the United States and SpaceX, we will make that date. We're all crossing our fingers, crossing our toes, crossing our eyes to make sure this is a reality. Okay, we're going to end it right there. And thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. If you want to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube channel, just type in James Salazar Media, and I should come up. And please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. I would greatly appreciate that. If you have anything, if you disagree with anything I said or any of my outlooks, or you have something interesting to add, please put it in an email at jamessalazarmedia@gmail.com and put it on any of my social media accounts, whatever platforms that you love the best, and just leave a message there, and I will mention it on the podcast. So until then, my friends, when the storm of life come against you and you find yourself on your knees, stand tall, take a look at that storm, and say what my sensei Jack Burton always says: give me your best shot. Hold on. Strike the music.